Welcome to the first episode of the Career Day podcast. My name is Jarrell Ellegood. I'm a composer, creative, and educator in Prince George's County, Maryland. This podcast is a product of a nonprofit mission I embarked on last year to provide support and supplies to homeschool scholars and their families here in Prince George's County, hence my organization's name, Aspire PGC. Adjacent to aiding homeschool families, I wanted to create opportunities for scholars that will provide constructive and meaningful exposure to the world around them. And that thinking laid the groundwork for our Career Day webinar last winter, which is now morphed into our Career Day podcast. Our first guests are IFBB professional bodybuilder Brittany Shulman and Dante Cox, professional boxer. I actually met Miss Shulman in elementary school, and Dante when I worked at Maryland Live Casino outside of Baltimore. But I think, specifically on social media, seeing them pursue their dreams, it's just been nothing short of inspiration, even from afar. And so I just wanted to share their story, not only with my scholars, but I think anyone could definitely get something out of the conversation that we're going to have today. So without any further ado, let's get into it.
Just talk to me a day in the life of a bodybuilder. What does that entail when you wake up in the morning? And you can be as detailed as possible, nothing crazy, but just even things that might shock a normal person who might be into fitness and thinks they know it all, but how different is what you're doing?
So a normal day in the life actually might seem a bit boring and not kind of what someone would think of as a professional bodybuilder. I am a working professional, so I have a normal corporate 9-to-5 job, but I wake up depending on if I'm in improvement season or if I'm in my prep season. I will get up and do fasted cardio. It just depends on how long I have to do it for that particular day. Then I will do normal things, get ready for work, get my daughter ready for school, drop her off, go to work for my normal day job. And then typically I do my lifts after work. I am not a morning person in the slightest, so I just have more energy and just kind of more brain power to put into my lifts and everything in the afternoon. So I will go do my lift after work. Again, depending on if I am in prep season or improvement season, finish cardio, do a second session, whatever is required for that particular day. Right now I'm in my improvement season, so I am not actively prepping for a specific show. That means my calories are higher, my cardio is lower, my lifts will be focused on growing and improving in the specific areas that the judges have given me feedback that I need to improve upon. Hence the word improvement season. So again, calories are higher, diet isn't as strict as it would be in my prep season, which means I'm actively prepping for a show. That means that we are in a cutting phase where I am cutting body fat, cutting weight, whereas I don't necessarily need to be a specific weight as a boxer would to weigh in. It's more of a look, but I am in a cutting phase where I am actively trying to lose body fat and condition myself for the stage. So again, right now I am in my improvement season, but I will be in my prep season here, I would say in about a month and a half or so. Some divisions don't need to be as conditioned as other divisions are, meaning that some divisions require you to show more muscle and be leaner than other divisions. So that will determine how much you need to cut. Again, how much body fat you need to lose will determine. So doing a professional or doing bodybuilding in general, getting on stage, it's a very extreme sport. And it's not like a normal kind of transformation where someone's like, okay, I just want to lose 10 pounds. It's very extreme. So it can get to the point where you are doing very high cardio and you are on low carbs low calories in general. But it's all about doing it in a healthy manner to help sustain your body systems, because your systems do tend to downregulate as you put yourself more and more into a depleted state, because your body wants to keep itself alive. So the more and more you stress the body, the more and more it's going to fight back. So you want to try and mitigate that as much as possible by not what we call crash dieting and just dropping calories super low and doing super high cardio to get the weight in the body fat off faster. The more you can maintain a more steady and linear kind of weight loss and kind of on the opposite end weight gain when you come out of your prep season, the healthier your body's going to be and the better your body's going to respond. So we like to do about a pound and a half weight loss per week. So we're tailoring the calories and the cardio and the output towards that. Now, some weeks you may lose more than a pound and a half, and then other weeks you may not lose a pound or a pound and a half. So that's just kind of the average, to kind of maintain your muscle mass, maintain, hormone functions and things of that nature. That is probably the hardest part of show prep or bodybuilding prep, because you get tired. And when I'm deep into prep and you're having those low calorie days and those long cardio sessions, like I say all the time, I'll stand on my treadmill and stand there for a few minutes thinking, like, why do I do this to myself? Am I really going to get this cardio session started? So it's definitely more of a mental, like going into the gym and, pushing yourself. That is arguably the easier part. But the diet and the mental is just hard, because especially too, once you start dieting down and those systems that I was speaking about start to suffer, you get the brain fog, you get forgetful, your energy is just super low, your mood takes a hit, like you just don't have the energy to like get up and walk down the steps and such. So I'm sure Dante can kind of elaborate, when he's getting ready for a boxing match. Kind of, I would assume it's about the same.
Ideally, you want to stay as close to your competition weight as possible. Give or take, 5 or 10 pounds is the ideal. Very seldom do you have the luxury of cutting a pound a week. I've had scenarios when I had to lose like 10 pounds in a day, which is very stressful. Very stressful, man, on the body. And it's like you want to try to avoid those scenarios as often as possible. That shouldn't be a normal part of your regimen.
What impact can that have on your mental health?
It all depends on how you go about it. Me personally, it's kind of like man, I did it. Like, I'm kind of like proud of myself. Man, I did it, man. 10 pounds in one workout, man. I did that shit. But then you got to think about, man, rehydration and how is my brain going to act tomorrow? Because when you're losing body weight, you're losing moisture everywhere, including that keeps your brain safe. So the less of that you have is not good for a fight. So you want to stay as hydrated as you can and try to retain as much of that body weight as possible. I can piggyback off of what Brittany was saying as far as, improvement season and competition. I think as a boxer, we're in this almost constant state of improvement season. You're always working on something. You're always sparring. You're always trying to be mindful of your weight. And then when you get that phone call, whether it be you got to fight tomorrow, because those calls come where you be like, yo, man, somebody popped out. You ready to fight tomorrow or a week from now or 3 days from now? And sometimes you get the luxury of actually having a full camp, which is nice. In those instances, I'm gonna smash it. So I try to keep that mentality about my training.
And so this is a question I'm going to ask both of you. The night of a competition, Brittany, what does that look like?
Yeah, so the days leading up to competition are really, at that point, all of your work is done. So there's really nothing that you should be doing super crazy in the days leading up to get ready or to be ready or anything. Like, those are actually the days where you want to be the most calm, where you want to be reducing your stress as much as possible, because the stress will show in the body especially when you are that conditioned and that lean, like the stress will just show. So you want to just kind of relax as much as possible. We have to get spray tan, so you're taking care of those things. For us women, it is also about your presentation. So, getting your hair, your nails done, anything like that needs to happen. But really, it's just kind of low stress, maybe little tweaks here and there, but nothing major, but just relaxing. Again, like I said, all the work is done. So that's really just a time for you to kind of reflect and just get ready, tweak any posing that you need to do, and then just try to rest as much as possible so that your body looks refreshed on stage. And then our competitions, typically you'll have prejudging in the morning and you'll have finals in the afternoon or early evening. Some shows will do both in the morning or both in the afternoon. But really, it's just getting up in the morning, making sure you're getting your food and your water in. Again, any small last-minute tweaks, and then just preparing yourself to be on stage.
Because I do watch a lot of videos on YouTube about bodybuilding, and it's mostly men, so no one's ever mentioned getting their hair done, nails and stuff, the day of a competition. And I'm just now thinking, you'd have to make time for that the day of, whereas a lot of men, wouldn't have to worry about that. So it's something really interesting. As far as your day of, Dante, what is that like? I mean, I know on the surface we know there's the point where they're, strapping up your hands and wrapping your hands and stuff, and there's the weigh-in. But what are some of the things maybe we don't see as well with, on your way to the ring?
So for boxing, we have there's fight week. Fight week is the phrase, man. Fight week. So, during this whole week, you just exactly what Brittany was saying. All the work is done. All the hard work is done. Everything else now is just recovery, getting your mind right. If I got to get a massage that week, I'll get a massage. If I got to do cryotherapy, I'll do cryotherapy. Sit in the sauna, just relax, try to be mindful of my weight, because you still haven't got on the scale yet. So then the night before the fight, you have weigh-ins. As long as you've been disciplined, that's just easy as get on the scale, get off the scale. Depending on the commission, because sometimes you're sitting there for long, just waiting on the commission to do what they got to do, and you're hungry, you haven't eaten, and you got this ice cold Gatorade sitting next to you, and you're just waiting to crack that thing open and drink it. And then the night of the fight, well, hold on, let me backtrack real quick. It's hard to sleep on fight week mainly because weight loss for me. Because when your body's not, Brittany could probably attest to this, but when you're not eating as much as you used to eat, it's hard to go to sleep, bro. It's hard. There's times I'm just laying there just like, then I just go watch TV until I fall asleep or something, but it's hard. It's definitely hard to sleep. The night before the fight is a little easier because after the weigh-in, we've rehydrated, we've eaten. And then the night of the fight, you're in the dressing room, getting your hands wrapped, rehearsing combinations, just getting your mind right. And you share a dressing room with other fighters. So you see them go out and you see them come back. Some of them come back happy, some of them come back sad. And then there's a bout sheet, so you just count down when you're getting ready.
So this is almost like acting, or even in theater, because I've had experiences where I'll see other performers, going off stage, coming back on. So is it the same with bodybuilding, where you may see, I guess, from different rounds, people coming back, and that same disappointment may be expressed on people's faces?
Oh yeah, I think for both of us, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So you're kind of in a holding area backstage, and then if for amateurs, there's different height classes, so you'll see all the other classes coming and going as you're waiting. In the pro league, everyone competes against each other regardless of height. So you won't necessarily see other people in your division. But yeah, you definitely see, some people who might come off stage a little bit disappointed with where they think their placing is.
What's the
and
first
and
time
stuff like that.
Like, what is? Because I mean, as someone, I play clarinet in ensembles and orchestras. I'm always performing in a group, playing my clarinet, and even when I have a solo, I'm surrounded by people. I've never experienced being, all eyes on me. What does that feel like in that moment? I guess? And maybe what was the first time again? What was that like?
It was definitely a little bit nerve wracking. I would say my first time on stage, just because you kind of have that awkwardness of you know where to go, but in the moment, once you step out on stage, your brain just kind of goes blank. So you're just kind of focusing on making sure that you're hitting where you need to be on stage, making sure that your posing is right and that you're just hitting everything. So the first time is definitely the most nerve wracking, but once you kind of do it a few times, it's more exciting because you're showing off the fruits of your labors to the judges and to everybody in the crowd. Once you do it more, it's more fun because it's more of a presentation and you get to show more of your personality as you become more comfortable with it, and being able to see your friends and family and the people cheering for you in the crowd. It gets you more excitement. When I'm on stage, there's always music playing, and I always like watching my video back because I never know what song I'm walking out to. So the DJ just plays whatever song. So it's always funny to look back and see what song was even on when I was on stage, because I'm just so focused on hitting your mark and making sure that you're presenting yourself the right way, because the judges are looking for something specific. So you want to make sure that you're showing off your strengths and not giving them a view of your weaknesses. So
how about you, Dante? Yeah, like the very first time.
You're talking about the first time, or? So, as a pro, it was, of course you get nerves. You're about to fight another, trained professional. You're standing there, you get to the ring, and you're just waiting for the ref to, introduce each other, and you're just looking at the dude's looking at you. You're just standing there kind of like, all right, let's get this thing going, right? And then it's like, you look out at your hands, and it's like you're a first person, like in one of those virtual reality joints. Like, I'm really doing this. And then the bell rings, and once the first few punches are thrown, man, everything else is it's like another day in the gym. So you just go with the flow, and then try to take advantage of whatever opportunities you can until the end of the fight. So yeah, it's definitely a wave of emotion during. Before, during, and after. It's a lot. It's definitely a lot.
This is the first question that'll be specific. This will be for boxing for you, Dante. Getting hit. I'm someone, I've never really been in a real fight. I fought with like a best friend, but it was broken up. It wasn't real. What is it like, I guess, being hit, because some people do compare combat sports to a simulated death match where the referee stops it before, in theory, someone would have been, ended. So is that how you look at it?
Right.
Just and what is that like, I guess, just how visceral is it, maybe being hitting someone else, when maybe your body feels like maybe it's going to give out? Is that the same as what we might feel at the end of a really long workout, or is it just a whole nother world? Like, I guess I want to like deep dive with both of you, where your mind is, how distant it is from what everyone else might consider normal in their everyday life.
I will say getting hit it's not as jarring as people imagine. Especially if you're conditioned and you're trained for it. Your body can do amazing things, man, once you condition it to do what it's supposed to do. With that being said, there's still some punches that hurt. Body shots in particular. I've been knocked down a few times, but it's more kind of like a dream state almost. You get hit. I remember the first time, man, I got hit with this crazy punch. And next thing I know, I'm on my back pocket, man, looking at my boots like, how did I get here? And I look up and the referee's like, 5, 6. I'm just like, what? It wasn't no pain or nothing, but it's just like, how did that happen? Which is even more worrisome because you don't even know how you even got there. On the flip side, punching somebody, um, it all depends on how one-sided it is. If it's a battle, you're both doing what the best you can do to to come out on top. But my last fight was emotional for me because dude, I was waiting for the ref to stop this fight. I was just hitting this cat. I need to see his eyes roll around in his head, and his nose was bleeding, eye was bleeding. I'm just like, yo, ref, what's good, bro? Like, like you hear stories about people, um, never leaving the ring the same way they went in, and that's always in the back of my mind when I fight. Even though maybe it shouldn't be, um, but that was an eye-opening experience because I was talking to people close to me, and they're like, man, you can't think like that because there's gonna be some dude somewhere in your career that's not gonna be worried about if you go home or not. They don't care about that. They're gonna get in there, do what they got to do, and then wait for the ref to do his job. So, that was I had an epiphany that fight, and it kind of changed my mindset moving forward, and definitely what levels I need to take to do what I got to do inside that ring. So, yeah, it's definitely a bunch of different extremes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Another
I'll go first. I started in boxing terms. I started late, man. And I started boxing since I was like 19. So, for kids to just want to, do it, just get started. Get started, but try to surround yourself with people that care about you because this sport is notorious for having people around you that, really don't care. So make sure you have a good team around you. Um, and just do it because you love it. Do it because you love it. Don't do it because somebody else says you should do it. Don't do it because your dad says you should do it. Your mom says you should do it. Do it because you legitimately love, you know, the sport, whether it be boxing or whatever it is. This is universal. Um, yeah. So my big 2 points is just make sure you got people around you that care about you, no matter what decisions you make, and make sure you genuinely love what you're getting into.
Did you play sports when you were younger before you got interested in boxing?
No, I just did weight training in high school. My mother was a personal trainer, so I grew up in the gym, man. My dad was in the military, so fitness has always been, a part of my life. I've always seen it. We've always, ate relatively good. I was always active. My mother was always active. Dad was always active until, he retired. Even then, so he still tries to stay in shape. But yeah, fitness has always been like an anchor in my life.
If someone is maybe middle school, high school, and they're super interested in becoming a boxer, what's something that maybe one of the most important things they could do now?
Uh, let's see. Don't have high expectations for yourself. Trust the journey.
Mm,
You know,
okay.
I've seen a lot of people, they watch stuff on YouTube or, watch fights and everything, and they expect some weird way to be like that as soon as they get into the gym. So just trust the journey, man. Everybody started off bad. you know, that's just how it works. Um, and have fun. Have fun with it more than anything, and don't get discouraged when things if things don't go your way when you first start out. Don't That goes back to genuinely loving it. Because if you genuinely love it, no matter what adversity you encounter, you're still gonna want to stick with it because you love it. And you know in the back of your head there's a better version of me if I keep going. So
So I started about 8 years ago. I grew up doing gymnastics, so I've always kind of been an athlete. And then once I was too old to be jumping and flipping around, um, getting into the gym kind of gave me an outlet to kind of expend my energy. And then I had two friends who were preparing for bodybuilding shows, one in the federation that I currently compete in and one in a different federation. But it seemed kind of cool, and kind of a fun thing to get involved with. And it gave me a goal and something to work towards versus just going into the gym and throwing around weights for no reason. So that's kind of how I got into it. And I would definitely say for anybody who is interested in this sport to definitely do your research prior. And, there's one thing for somebody who is, I want to transform my body. I want to do a competition for fun just to say that I did it. It's a goal. I want to step on stage and, just have fun. Then there are the people who are aiming to be in the pro league and they're like, I want to make it to the bodybuilding Olympia one day. Those are two very different mindsets and two very different tracks that you're going to be on depending on where you want to go and how far you want to take yourself in the sport. So understanding the requirements and what it's going to take to achieve both of those goals is important in laying out prior to you just kind of jumping into this world because, again, the dieting, it does get hard. The lifts and the workouts and the demands will get hard. It can put a strain on your relationships. It puts a strain on you. It can financially. Bodybuilding is a very expensive sport. So just researching and doing your homework to make sure that A, you are mentally ready, that you are B, physically ready, that you are C, financially ready. All those things kind of come into play when you're entering this world. So again, if it's something that you're doing as a hobby, that's great. Go do your show, see how things pan out. But if it's something that you want to do for many, many years, or you are setting your sights for, the highest goal that you can reach in the sport, then you really have to understand what exactly it is that you're getting yourself into.
I had two questions. I had a million questions from that because that was just awesome. But one question is, how expensive are we talking for a young person? Say one of my students looks at this podcast. Right now I'm at a middle school, so an 8th grader, and they're interested. Money-wise, is this the same as them signing up for Boys and Girls Club soccer? Like, what are we... Because I honestly don't know. I have no clue.
Yeah, I mean, it could be as little or as much as you want it to be. So, you have to think about you're paying for your food. So however much your food is going to cost, you have to eat, yes, normally, but you might have a specific diet requirement or whatever. You're going to have to pay for supplements. Those costs range depending on what supplements you're needing. Gym membership per week. Any rehab or physical therapy recovery tools that you need. There's the cost of those. Again, that kind of depends on how much or how little that you need. Competition registrations range anywhere from $100 to $250. Your bikini that, for me specifically, that you wear on stage, you can get one off the rack and kind of zhuzh it up yourself for a cheaper option, or you can buy one that's custom, and those cost literally hundreds of dollars, like upwards of $500, $600, $700. You have travel to and from shows. If you're driving, if you're flying, you have hotel accommodations for the show. Again, whether you're local, doing something local, or whether you're having to travel for something, you have your coaching. It depends on, the level that your coach is at. If they're a higher name coach or more well-known and they have top-tier athletes, they may be more expensive than a coach who is more at the regional level. So there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to competing, and it definitely shouldn't be a light undertaking because, again, it is very expensive, and there are some things that you can kind of dial back your spending on, but then there are some things you absolutely cannot and should not be dialing back
I
on.
guess, and something else I thought of, just because you mentioned just some of the expenses, and then you also mentioned some of the burden, just mentioning physically. A question for both of you: is there ever a point, and we can start with whoever wants to go first, where you've given up? And I mean, even in a school, I feel like a lot of times we don't really let the kids know that a lot of the adults around them have given up at the thing that we're doing right now. Or even your heroes on TV have given up maybe at that thing. And then they, kept at it. And so maybe you haven't, but if either of you have, I guess maybe if you could speak to that, because I think that's always interesting when someone tells you how they, overcame and triumphed over that moment where they're like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I'm doing the wrong.
I have a few fights ago. There's this weird stigma, like in boxing, like after you've taken, a handful of losses, you're damaged goods. Nobody wants to deal with you. Da 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 da. Those are all preconceived notions, obviously. So that doesn't matter. But the journey with oneself, I was on the verge of, on that last fight, a couple fights ago, I think 3 fights ago, I was like, man, if I don't win this fight, I don't know, man, I might try to figure something else out. And that's the kind of mentality I went into my training camp. If I would have lost that fight, would I have kept boxing? Probably, yeah. I was just being hard on myself, but at the same time, those are the thoughts, that you have in competition, no matter what. I think I don't think you should run from those thoughts. They're part of the journey. They're definitely part of the journey, man. And they reach parts into your psyche that you didn't know you had. I've been to places in my mind during that camp that I never knew existed. And it brought the best out of me for that fight. So I think if you ever think about giving up on what you feel like your purpose is, give it long thought, man. Long thought. And what is giving up? Like, what does that look like for that particular thing? Because for me, even if I go to competition, I would still box for the rest of my life. Like that's something that's never going to stop. I'm never going to stop boxing. Period. Competition, of course. I mean that's inevitable. But even say if you're an actor, right? But there's really no age limit on how great you can be. What does it look like to quit acting? Like, do you stop showing up to shows? Like, do you stop showing up to auditions? Like, or are you constantly trying to work on it? So I believe in dialing back. Giving up just doesn't, to me, giving up is like, you're dead. Like, it's done. I always feel like there's always some way or shape or to push towards, something that you're passionate about.
And Brittany, is there ever a moment you think that maybe you like, I'm giving, this isn't for me, same kind of thing where you're maybe questioning it. And it doesn't have to be like, a purely insecurity or anxiety type thing. It could have been from a setback, because I know from my own experience, just being a creative, just film and design, sometimes I'll have a setback with a project or something, and it could be debilitating. Has there ever been maybe a moment where you questioned anything as well?
I would say there's definitely moments where I question my sanity and why I do this to myself, as I mentioned earlier, but it's 100%. Never to the point where I'm sitting there seriously thinking, am I not going to compete? I very much recognize that this is something that I have signed up for. I have chosen to do this. So to me, giving up isn't an option. I'm going to follow through. And, after I hit my show, if I decide, I want to do another show, or if I decide I want to go into an improvement season, that's something that I'm going to decide. But the kind of bodybuilding lifestyle, it's not for me. It's not just show prep improvement season. It is a lifestyle. So even if I wasn't competing actively, as Dante said, that doesn't mean that I just go off and shove food in my face and not go to the gym and not work out and not maintain the same habits that got me here. Because at the end of the day, yes, I'm a bodybuilder and I compete in shows, but I also enjoy the health and fitness and wellness part of it that allows me to maintain an active lifestyle. I don't want to be older and not being able to walk up and down the steps or play with my child for as long as I can because I'm not being active when in my younger years, setting myself up for that success in my later years. So again, I've never had a situation where I've thought about not following through on a show or anything, because that's just giving up on myself. You know, I have set this goal for myself, so the only person I'm letting down is myself. If I were to get injured, or if there was something that prevented me from being able to prep for a show, that's a different story. You know, as Dante said, you regroup, you figure out, you know, how you're going to move next, what your next move is. But that doesn't mean that you just, oh, well, there goes that, not doing that anymore. It's always going to be a part of my life.
Yeah.
The version of you now versus the version of you at the beginning. You know, I compose music. I know the version of me now that composes music. I think about the music I wrote at the beginning, and you know, people were clapping, but I can't even listen to it now. It doesn't feel complex. So, given what you guys do, how stark a difference is that version that we'll never meet? We may only see in pictures, or we may only hear about in stories or videos. Who's that person? How different are they from who you are now?
For me, it's night and day, man. It's night and day. Way more experience, not as naive, not as trusting. But at the same time, you know, better judgment of, you know, how you move in this business, because it is a business. As an athlete, smarter, more relaxed, definitely more relaxed, and that's the biggest thing. I feel like that's the biggest thing for any athlete in competition. Just the more experience you get, man, moves you used to even like struggle about or struggle thinking about almost become like second nature, you know, years down. And you could think like, man, there was once upon a time where I used to hate doing this, or I struggled with this, and now you look back like, man, I'm looking for the next level now. So it's fun to look back. It's fun to look back to where you started, and you can see such a jarring difference in who you once were to who you are now. And that's kind of, those small things like that is what give you the fuel to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Because imagine if the person you saw stopped halfway through, and you can never be the person you are now. You'd be looking back like, man, you missed out on all this. Like, there's still all this to get, you know, and you stop. So it's definitely reassuring, and it's definitely, you know, a journey in your mind that you should always revisit.
Who is that version of Brittany that, you know, we'll never get to meet?
I would say just being able to reinforce kind of good habits, and whenever you're engaged in a sport, you know, it really does shape you everywhere in your life. So, you know, building that discipline, courage, you know, all those are encompassed when you dive deep into any sport. And with bodybuilding specifically, I can 100% say that I am more in tune with my body now than I was before. So, you know, I could tell you what foods I'm going to eat that digest well, that are going to sit well on my stomach. I can tell you, you know, I can anticipate how a prep's going to be, you know, based on how my body's feeling. I can anticipate a lot more of kind of how I'm functioning. So I think before the first prep that I ever did, I was very naive to the industry, to the demands, and to what this kind of lifestyle would look like. But now that I've been ingrained in it for so long, I've kind of seen that, yes, there are very extremes to my sport, but there's also that part where, you're helping people who are just trying to make small changes so that they can themselves be better. And they are looking to you, for that advice, for that help. So I would definitely say I've matured in the sport a lot, just being around it and learning more about, my division specifically, but just kind of learning about health and wellness in general, so that I can lead a better, healthier life for myself, but so that I can also help other people lead
How
better,
young
healthier
can
lives.
someone get into bodybuilding? Because I know if I had a kid that said they were interested in this sport or that sport, I'd say, oh, well, go do this or go join that. But I don't. There's a lot of sports where I just don't know what to tell someone who might be interested. So what? I guess maybe a middle school kid in PG County who's interested in bodybuilding. Are there things available, programs maybe?
Yeah, so I don't know for other federations, but for the NPC, which is the feeder into the IFBB Pro League, the youngest you can start competing is 16. But most people don't start until, their late teens or early 20 adulthood. Yeah. Well, one, because your body isn't finished developing yet. So, it's bodybuilding. So you need to be able to build muscle. So, when you're younger, you just don't have your system isn't just kind of set up right then and there to be able to put on the muscle necessary. So, that just comes with maturity. You're still growing when you're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, so you want to, again, if it's just something you want to do to step on stage because, it's a bucket list check off item, then by all means. But if it's something that you want to compete for a few years, or you want to see where you can take yourself in the sport, you have to be able to have that foundation of muscle in order to be competitive. And that's not going to happen when you're 16, 17, 18 years old. It takes years and years and years of consistent training, nutrition, recovery in order to put on that type of mass. So it's just a time thing. And with that being said, you shouldn't rush the process. There is something to be said about being in the moment and being in the journey, because that's what's going to teach you all those important lessons that you need to learn about yourself, about the industry, about life in general. So, having a goal is great, but having that timeline and having, realistic expectations of how long it's going to take you to get there, because this isn't an overnight thing. You don't put on 20 pounds overnight, and unless you're Dante, you don't lose 10 pounds overnight.
Which is very unhealthy, by the way. Everybody, that's very unhealthy.
So, but, it takes time. So, if you want to be competitive, yes, when you're younger, start getting and building those foundations so that you have that to build upon and you have that to tweak as you get older.
Exactly. I can piggyback off of that in a way. I've never done bodybuilding or anything, but I feel like for the younger kids that want to get into it, I would say perfect the X factor, which is posing. If you can be super dope at posing as a kid, when you get older and as your body matures, it's one less thing I feel like you'd have to worry about. I guess it's an evolution. I feel like there's not no one pose that lasts till the end of time. They're constantly evolving, as with any kind of sport. But I think if you're rooted in that, it'd be easy for you to flourish, because genetics are currently against you as a 16-year-old. You can't compete against a 45-year-old man that's been bodybuilding since his 30s.
Right, exactly.
And muscle maturity doesn't even happen until you're like 35, 40 years old.
As far as accessibility, if I tell a student, no, just go find a boxing gym, is that the best advice that I could be giving one of my students? Like, what is young?
That goes back to what I said earlier about finding a
Mm,
place where people care about you and not getting discouraged. Because you might find a place that you like, but there's people within that gym that you don't like. And they might say things that you don't like or do things that you don't like. But it's also kind of like a gauntlet in a way, though. They're just seeing, how much crap can this person take? Until, okay, then we can mold them into something. You know what I'm saying? So just focus on you. There might be some abrasive people that you bump into. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? But keep your goal in mind. Stay focused. What is a kid? I feel like their parents would always want to be with them in the gym. But if you're like a teenager, just don't let nobody try to shy you away from it if that's what you really want to do. Because there's going to be people that's going to try to shy you away from it or try to get you, oh man, what's he doing in this gym? Yeah, I'm get him out of here, or beat on you and stuff like that. So definitely make sure you got people around you that care about
I
you.
think,
first of all.
and this is another one for both of you guys. One of you mentioned that I can't remember who, but you spoke to just the business side. And as professional athletes, how much, like, do people maybe have misconceptions of how much of what you do still has to be, not, I don't want to say delegated to just dollars and cents, but it's still a business and there's still an organized professional set of things that have to happen in an organized way. So can you guys speak to like the business side of what you do, how intense that can get? Because I know with a lot of my students, they think that even being an NFL player is just being on the field. And there's just so much more that happens behind that.
The business side kind of goes along with everything I've been saying up until this point. Making sure you got good people around you, because you'll have people that'll want to put you in a fight that might not be the best fight for you, but they just want to get you out there. But they're not the one in there going through the camps, getting beat up during camp, getting beat up during the fight. Making sure people that you're fighting for don't try to take advantage of you. I've been blessed to where as though everybody that I've worked with so far has been pretty fair. But I know I've heard horror stories out there about, never getting paid and stuff like that. So, just don't always look for the good in everybody, because try to make everybody earn your trust. 100%. Like, make them without a shadow of a doubt earn your trust. Especially in boxing. So I guess to put it in one phrase, just have a good team. Just have a solid team around you in the sport. As with any sport, just have a solid team around you. People that can crunch the numbers. People that don't always act on emotion, because sometimes fighters act on emotion. It's just what we do. Make sure you have somebody to pull you out and like, hey man, look, think about this, think about this, think about this. Just somebody to weigh the options. You need a realist on the team that's always gonna, keep you in line. So you just need a strong team. Definitely a strong team, 100%.
I feel like people kind of have this misconception that all professional athletes are rich and that you just make all this money and whatever the case is. But, most sports, even if you are a professional athlete, unless you're, the cream of the crop, the top of the game, you're not pulling in all these, funds and sponsorship deals and endorsements and all that. So just kind of, again, making sure that, you are financially in a good spot before you engage in whatever sport it is that you're choosing. But, there are ways to monetize what you're doing, with TikTok and Instagram and YouTube and all of those things now, getting those sponsorship and endorsement deals. So, if that's something that you're looking to do out of your sport, then again, just kind of researching and seeing what the trends are, seeing how you can kind of monetize it, getting a manager potentially if you need to. And, I would definitely say too, having a financial advisor, someone who can kind of set you up for success, because you can get taken advantage of in any sport by someone who's just trying to get your money and run away with it, and then all of a sudden your money's in an offshore account and you have no way of recovering it. So like Dante said, just making sure that you have good people around you who are invested in you and who are caring and going to take care of you. So for fitness specifically, a lot of bodybuilders don't just have the endorsements or sponsorships. They are also coaches themselves. They do nutrition coaching, they do lifestyle coaching, competitor coaching, posing clinics, posing coaching, things of that nature. So it's not just stepping on stage and then winning your show and getting a check, because if you're not in a top placing, then you're not getting paid. You've just paid to be there, and now you're in the negative. So if you want to monetize it, you have to figure out for you specifically what that looks like, whether it, again, is reaching out to sponsors to see if they would want to sponsor you or work with you, be an affiliate, coaching on the side, doing posing, things like that.
And so I guess my final question, this is for both of you. As I said, my mom wanted to know some fitness tips. So I wanted to ask both of you, and this is something I'm really passionate about, is just fitness. Because a lot of my students, they eat trash food. I tell them that to their faces. So from you guys, I'm asking two questions. The best thing adults can do right now for their health. And then the same question for young people or children, like, is there maybe some X factor or big thing that they could stop doing that could kind of set the stage for just better overall health and wellness?
I'll let Brittany take the floor.
I was gonna say I can go first.
And I'll piggyback off whatever she said.
I would say for adults, the biggest thing is, because a lot of us work and we are sedentary throughout the day, is making sure you're getting in good movement throughout the day. So whether that's going for a walk, parking farther away in the parking lot, so you have to take more steps to get to the store. Like, those little things add up, when you're talking about your daily expenditure. Kids, they're running around all day, so they get that movement in. But we as adults, again, because we're sitting all day, we're working, we're not kind of thinking about getting that movement in. Drinking plenty of water, sleeping, 7, 8, 9 hours a day is really important, not just for your recovery, but so that your body stays in homeostasis. Like, if you're not getting that sleep, your body's not recovered. So then you wake up tired, you wake up irritable, you wake up and you're not feeling your best already. So you're not setting yourself up to have a good day. Minimizing processed foods. I'm not saying go out to the farmer's market and only buy organic, but instead of shoving Pop-Tarts in your face, maybe let's do some more like whole grains or things like that. Don't get me wrong, I do enjoy my treats, but I also enjoy them within reason. I don't go overboard, I don't binge, I don't, food will always be there, so you don't have to feel like you have to get it in all at one time, because it's not going to be there tomorrow. I promise you it will. So, I wouldn't say, people say, good food versus bad food. And I wouldn't say that any food is inherently bad, but, overconsumption is definitely not the best practice. So again, you can have, things that will be labeled bad foods as long as it's within reason. So, everyone preaches, the 80-20 rule, 80%, more whole foods, things from the earth, and then, those 20% fun foods, so that you're not feeling so deprived. It's all about the discipline and making sure that, you're making good choices, because at the end of the day, what you're eating is a choice. So, do you want to feel good throughout the day? Do you want to feel energized? Do you want to feel like you're not sluggish midday? Or do you want to be sitting on the couch doubled over with a stomach ache, or feeling bloated all the time, or like your digestion is off because you chose to have a cheat weekend? And if I feel like people are always like, oh, cheat day. Like, it shouldn't be a cheat. It should just be, you know, I have my 3 meals that are very, you know, like on plan or very wholesome. And then I have my one meal where I'm a little bit more flexible. But, you know, saying that you're having a cheat day or a cheat weekend, that's not that's just an excuse. That's the excuse that you're telling yourself to justify your behavior and your actions. But at the end of the day, nobody cares because it's you. You're the one who has to deal with the guilt of and deal with the feeling that you're not feeling your best after you have overconsumed. So kind of getting back to the original question, you know, for adults, it's, you know, drinking more water, getting more movement in throughout the day, you know, exercising. And you don't have to go to the gym and be, you know, loading up the leg press with 6 plates each side, you know, going for PRs. You know, you could do a YouTube video in your basement or in your living room. You can do Pilates, you know, do something that is getting your body moving more. And for kids, you know, just being mindful of them also getting their movement in, but, you know, fueling themselves with good nutritious foods that are gonna keep them going in. You know, most people in general don't consume enough protein, so just making sure that your diet is getting a healthy amount of protein. You know, we like to tell people to front load it in your day so that, you know, you're not trying to get all of your protein in at the end of the day. So, you know, most people aren't getting enough protein. You know, it's easy to consume the carbs and the fats because those are the tastiest, but, you know, just making sure you're getting in that good protein.
With protein, because I feel like sometimes I'll say, oh, you know, tell my mom or my stepfather, you need to eat more protein, but is it maybe their age maybe makes it more difficult for them to yield the same benefits that I do?
No, your age really doesn't have anything to do with it because your body still needs to function. And, you know, there's an optimal environment that your body functions in. So, you know, your body's not going to function optimally if you're eating French fries and Cheetos and drinking soda all day. So, you know, those things are high in, you know, processed chemicals and things of that nature. So, you know, again, you're going to feel better if you're eating things that are closer to the earth and that aren't more processed. Your body doesn't have to fight to digest those things. So, you know, to maintain muscle, like protein is the building block of muscle. So if you're not getting in enough protein, you know, and as we age, we are going to atrophy at a faster rate than you do when you're younger. So it's even more important as you age to make sure that you're hitting your protein so that you're protecting that muscle from atrophying.
Back to the cheat day and the cheat weekend thing. I feel like it's okay as long as you can really pull yourself out of it. Like if you can really, like, honestly pull yourself out of that, and like 2 days of eating crap and then go right back, which is nobody honestly pulls themselves out of that, man. So just try to stay disciplined. As adults, we know what's good and what's bad. It's just hard. You gotta do the hard thing. I know nobody want to hear that, but sometimes you just gotta do the hard thing, man. It's not. Maybe you shouldn't eat 2 burgers past 9 p.m. Maybe that ain't the best thing to do. Pick them carrot sticks up. Pick up some rice cakes. I mean, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Take a protein shake.
I definitely feel bad about sharing my dietary choices with the two of you guys. I feel like YouTube videos.
Nah, man, it's all good, bro.
Better.
It's all good. Yeah, man. We ain't want to shame you, man, but it's, you know, you just want to just be mindful and just don't forget why you want to make those lifestyle choices in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's all.
Yeah,
it's hard.
Just keeping
it's not easy. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, just keeping your goals in mind. If you have a specific goal and it requires you to move in a certain way, then you're only doing yourself a disservice by quote unquote cheating. So, you know, if your goal is to lose weight or to be healthier, then, you know, your cheat day is only cheating yourself. But but everybody doesn't have to live the athletic lifestyle where you're super strict or you're super structured. Like, there is flexibility in that, and the more that people can kind of lean into that flexibility, you won't really feel the need to have a cheat day or a binge, because you're able to fit those fun foods in and enjoy them in moderation without going overboard.
Yeah, moderation is the key. Moderation is definitely the key, and the why. You know, like I said earlier, like for Brittany, it's her why is to look as far from average as humanly possible. So she's willing to, you know, to do all the hard stuff. For everybody else, it's, you know, you just gotta ask your why. So my last word is, whenever you find your fire, whatever, you know, sets your soul on fire, man, just hold on to it. Hold on to it, nurture it, and forge it, while keeping your happiness too. You know, it's never too late. Never think it's too late. Don't let anybody put a time limit on your dreams or what you think is possible. And enjoy the journey. Definitely enjoy the journey, man, because you're gonna want to look back and enjoy the ups, the downs. You know, it's fun to look back even though at the hard times. So just enjoy the journey and everything that comes with it.
Yeah, if I had any final words to say, I would definitely say to whatever your goals are, set them and then chase after them relentlessly. You know, don't let any outside noise deter you from focusing on what you have set to attain for yourself. You know, there are always going to be people in your ear trying to tell you no or convince you not to go after it. But if it's something that you're passionate about and it's something that you just want to do, then go after it and don't accept no for answers. You know, do what needs to be done in order to have that success, because at the end of the day, we only have one life to live, and it's your choice whether you are going to live it the way that you envision it or live it having regrets for not going after something that you wanted because of all the outside noise.
Once again, thank you to Brittany and Dante on behalf of Aspire PGC. Thank you to everyone who joined us for this conversation, and to the many, many friends, family, and fellow educators that have supported and offered critical feedback. To learn more about Aspire PGC and about upcoming episodes, you can visit us online at www.aspire-pgc.org. Take care.